After morning breakfast, and Kendog, of course, being rounded up, a tour of the city Gweta occurred. We eventually came across a daycare school and enjoyed the enthusiasm of the children. It wouldn't be a vacation experience without a stop at the local hospital. But it wasn't my visit alone, as Margaret had an unstoppable nosebleed. Fortunately, a stop at the ladies' room solved the problem, and no other issue the rest of the adventure. One thing that was interesting was the black and white stone arrangement. The president of Botswana believes of one people, black and white, with the blue maybe, the sky and rivers coming together. I didn't get to read the signage, so it's my interpretation from those that did. A trip to Botswana would not be fully experienced without a vehicle problem, and our guides are quick to handle the situation without a hitch, as we looked on in amazement how fast it goes. What's the name of this river?
Thamalakane River.
I gotta get again from you.
Thamalakane River.
Very good. And what are we going to see?
It depends on like how you are.
If you're real quiet?
Yeah, it's really quiet. Only the sound of birds and
okay.
Sometimes you actually see animals around there.
So it's best this crowd stay as quiet as they can to see more animals.
I don't know if we can manage this.
I know, tough group. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Catchment area for this water. All this water is sourced in Angola, catchment area. There's no outlet to the sea, so about 112,000 square kilometres at the top there. That grey area where I've called it the Okavango Basin, that's known as the Okavango Basin, which includes the Okavango Delta. So the water rains there in November up to February. It enters Botswana in July, say, in Mohembo. It comes down the Gweta River and the Okavango River, the two main rivers. You can see, I think I've marked those rivers there. Gweta River, Okavango River. The Zambezi is further over to the west, it's outside the main catchment area. So those join at a place called Derico and form the Okavango River, which then flows into Botswana at Mohembo, into the panhandle. And where you just had your finger then, the panhandle, it's not a geological fault, it's two high ridges of sand each side, just a feature in the ground, and the river runs through it, and then it hits, if you turn over now, and then it hits the Damari fault line. which is a shift in the ground, and that fans the water into the delta. It's an actual fault line. A fault line, if you like this fault line behind us, is the Thamalakane fault line. It's a rise in the ground. So that's what causes the water to fan out. So it spreads out like that, and then there's three main rivers. The Gomoti, the Santantadibi, the Boro and the Kunyeri, which hit this fault line and run into this river, the Thamalakane River. And then this river flows another 20 kilometres this side, goes through the fault line and forms the Nabi River, which then runs into Lake Ngami, and the Boteti River, which runs through a place called Makalamabedi, Morimatau, Rakops, Mapipi, and then just disappears in Lake Dow into the Kalahari Desert. So you could call the Kalahari Desert the sink, if you want to. The water just disappears there. It never reaches the sea. And that was what makes this such a unique area, really, this Okavango Basin.
Are these faults active?
Sorry? Yes, they are. It's a seismic area, this. The biggest tremor was in 54, 6.7. But it's quite deep down, you know. The rock is about 300 feet down here. 300 to 600 feet down. It's part of the Karoo system.
Yeah, part of the rift.
The East African rift ends in Maun, believe it or not, about 15 kilometres from here. But the thing now is 6 years ago this was bone dry because we had drought.
For how many years?
We had drought for about 8 years, so the flood would come down and the water would just reach maybe sometimes here, sometimes 5 kilometres through Maun, a few isolated lagoons, a few hippos would come down. Then by December it's dry again. So the last 5 years we've had really good rains in Angola, and it's come through the delta and made the river perennial again. For about 4 years now it's been quite substantial. This year the floods that I stood for 40 years.
Huh.
And if you see these water lilies here, all these are new water lilies because the flood came up so quickly, the lilies couldn't grow at the same rate, so they disappeared under the water, because normally this is carpeted in water lilies. So all these are new water lilies. You can see some of the old frogs now because the water's dropping quite quickly. The water came up here, it actually breached here over our golf course. This is our golf course for the hotel. We've got 3 holes here.
Some hazards.
Just 9-iron though, 9-iron in the sand.
Water hazard.
Will hippos come down?
They do. I was checking that palm tree there. They normally mark that tree, but he's not been for a while. There are hippos in the river, not many because they've all gone downstream now to new grazing grounds. So another 250 kilometres from here. So it starts at the top of the catchment area is 1,700 kilometres from Maun. And I'm sure you've seen the pictures of the delta water, the meandering rivers. That's because between Mohembo and Maun, the level difference is 60 metres over 250 kilometres.
That is
Opiumwildstort.
night, she's collecting the rhizomes from the water lilies. The sort of tubers where's the riverbed, half embedded, and they make like a casserole actually called sweet. So they collect them, they dive down. That's why she's showing the knife. They dive down a hotel complex with casinos and a golf course. Here. So school children now have got to be bussed down to Mokholodi, which is the other side of Gaborone. You know, I think it's very important to get school children, give them this exposure that's here. So it's a very sad decision for Maun actually, to have this in the middle of Maun. It's a real treasure. And it's flooded, a third of it's underwater now with the high flood. But there's so many other places they can build there, 5-star hotels. A golf course, when it's like today, would you like to go out and play golf? No. 40 degrees.